Good afternoon. Welcome, student. So, the topic that I want to speak about today is corporate governance. I'm Dr. Shanti from Amity Bangalore. And if you can see the title, it is corporate governance, and it is having or has started taking a lot of importance in the strategy of a company and how companies are going to be present and how they are going to govern the company. So, corporate governance can include things like transparency, it can include disclosure of financial statements, it can include meeting the requirements of SEBI. It can include all the rules, procedures that are laid down by the government. So it's basically how the company is going to be governed by the top management, by the people in the organization, and that's how this has a lot of relevance. And if we get a little bit deeper, then we can also say that business ethics are also related to how corporate governance happens. So let's understand the definition of corporate governance. So corporate governance, like I said, refers to the way a corporation is governed. It can be techniques in which the companies are going to carry out the business operations, mostly as per the requirement of the stakeholders, because stakeholders have a role in the way the company gets governed. So it is you can say that the corporate governance is being conducted by the board of directors, the various committees, the governance committees, and mostly for the company's stakeholders. So these stakeholders could be shareholders, they could be customers, they could be anyone who have a major impact on the functioning of the company. And it is also, corporate governance can also be explained as the interaction between various participants in the company, like the shareholders, the board of directors, and the company's management. And why it is important? Because the way the company gets governed by these boards or by these stakeholders is going to impact the functioning of the company in the external and the internal environment. However, it's the right time to say that because there are various levels that are operating in the company, there can be a lot of conflicts. So we call them conflicts in the organization, which can be categorized into tier 1, tier 2, and so on. So I will come to that because of the presence of the stakeholders, various types of stakeholders, we do get into conflicts within the organization, and this is where corporate governance comes in and shows the light as to how do you progress of carrying out a transparent organization in the long term. So need for corporate governance, yes, it's mostly because of the mandatory guidelines that we have. So we need to govern a company in a particular way. Then we have widespread shareholders. They could be within our domestic country or they could be in the global place. So we have to meet everyone's requirements. So that's the reason a proper governance, a methodology to manage the company, to govern the company is required. Many a times we see that there are changing ownership structures. There can be, in case you don't govern the company properly, you can get into the third point, which is the corporate scams or scandals. Then there are greater expectations of society, like there are societal expectations from the company, and then there can be some takeovers, some mergers, some acquisitions, which can happen in case of those acquisitions. We need a clear corporate governance policy, and there can be disparity in the compensations of the top management and the other levels of the company. In those cases, this disparity can be viewed as an inequality by the employees. So we need a governance structure for compensation of the top management, for compensation of the board of directors. And lastly, the globalization, like I said, throws the company into sometimes into unknown waters, but if you have a good governance structure, it's easier to adapt to the external environment. So these are, we can say, the need or the points as to why corporate governance is important and why it is being taken up so much by the top management in a company. So we do have certain principles which are there for corporate governance, and this is with reference to the Indian organizations, and you can apply them for other organizations also. So the first key principle of corporate governance is transparency. So transparency is how transparent you are. Are you able to disclose your financial statement, your environmental regulations and so on, especially to the stakeholders. So your disclosures are one examples of how transparent you are about your company. It could be financial disclosures, it could be any other disclosure as required by the stakeholders. Second one is accountability. So accountability is another principle in the sense that when you run an organization, you have a liability to explain the decisions that are being taken to everyone around. So in the context of corporate governance, accountability implies the responsibility of the chairman, the board of directors, and chief executive officer to use and utilize the resources of the company which are in the best interest of the company, which means that some of these top management people cannot use the resources for personal use. So you are accountable to the extent to the stakeholders. So this is what we mean by accountability. The third principle is independence. Independence means that the governance committees and the way the organization is functioning, they are independent of each other, and the corporate decisions are taken on the basis of business knowledge, and none of the employee in the company can influence the good corporate governance structures. It should be independent of that. So the SEBI of India has put across a code of corporate governance, especially for the way the top management should manage, what they should disclose, what should be the compensation. So out of that, first one they have explained about board of directors. So the board of directors shall have a combination of executive and non-executive directors. It should have a combination of gender diversity. It should have a mixture of corporate and non-corporate people, and the number of independent directors also is mentioned by SEBI. The company should have an independent audit committee. As per the governance, there should be an independent audit committee. Such audit committees can audit any operations, financial, economical, marketing activities of the organization to see how the company is working. And like I said before, there should be an independence of such committees from the company, so that uh, the they can measure the corporate governance activities of the company. Remuneration of directors, it may so happen that there may be a disparity in the compensation, so you want the remuneration of directors to be as per the scales mentioned. Lastly, the management part in case of the corporate governance. So I spoke about board of directors, I spoke about compensation and the management. So a management discussion and analysis report should be there. It should be a part of the annual report which needs to be shared with the shareholders and the stakeholders. It can have a discussion of the opportunity and threats that are being faced by the organization, and it can be segment wise, product wise performance of the company. We can also put up upcoming risks and concerns in this report. So this is something about how corporate governance can be implemented. There is a concept of principal and agent problem. So principal is basically the company, and agent is they are agent could be employees. So the principal becomes the organization, agent becomes the employees. The employees, they perform work, provide time and talent to the organization, and the organization or the principal authority will hire, monitor, and compensate. However, it's good to say at this point that a conflict can arise in case the company, the principal, and the agent are not clear as to what are the requirements from each of the parties. So we have a theory called a agency theory. Agency theory says that we all are bound by a legal contract. So legally, we as a company are supposed to perform, and the employees are supposed to perform as per the contract or as per the work assigned to them. So this is a agency theory, and we want to reduce the personal satisfaction, since the company goals take precedence over individual goals. And so in order to have good governance mechanisms, we need to overcome two of the major problems which we may face. First one is adverse selection, which means employing people who are not effective and efficient, and employing people who may be taking individual goals as priority instead of the company goals. You can also get into moral hazards in case the people whom you recruit in the top management or the middle level are not driven with proper professional business ethics. So the board of directors form a very, very important part of the corporate governance. They meet at a frequency to discuss the issues, problems, and strategy of the organization. It can consist of the CEO, the COO, the Chief Operating Officer, and the Chief Financial Officer. And the board of directors are elected by the shareholders. The votes of the shareholders determine who can be elected to the board. So one of the example of the board of directors is the General Electric's board of directors. So the board consists of members from companies, academia, and government. The reason to have different people is to get different viewpoints, and not only meet the financial goals but also the social goals of the company. And they can have various committees. They should have a percentage of women on the board. So this is the example of the board of directors. So responsibilities of the board of directors, they see the strategic oversight of the company, how we are moving in terms of the bottom line and in terms of the profits of the organization. They can select, evaluate, and choose the CEO for the organization. They can provide the guidance as to what will be the executive compensation for the top management. They can review, monitor all the strategic initiatives, and they also would go for risk assessment and mitigation. So these are some of the things or the responsibilities which is required by the board of directors. So executive compensation can range from stock options to other pay scales. It could be which satisfies according to the sector. So one thing I want to come for is, like I said in the beginning, one of the things which we face during governance are conflicts. Why these conflicts arise? Because there are various people, there are multiple goals, there are multiple roles, and in this case you can get into conflict. So there are four types of conflicts. So the first conflict is called tier 1 conflict. In case of tier 1 conflict, the directors, between the directors and the company, a conflict can arise. So in that case, a director cannot take advantage of his position in the organization, and some of the conflicts can arise relating to salaries and perks which he is taking Then there can be a case of misappropriation of company assets. So the directors cannot use the assets for personal use. It is for the company use. Then they can get into deals, self deals without the knowledge of other stakeholders, and there could be problems of insider trading. Insider trading means sharing the information of the sharing critical information of the company to outsiders, or it could be neglecting the board work. So these are some of the first level conflict that can arise between directors of the organization and the company itself. Second one is the tier 2 conflict. So tier 2 conflict can arise between directors versus the stakeholder. So if a conflict arises between one of the directors and if between one of the directors and the government, then it becomes a tier 2 conflict, because among the various stakeholders, which is directors, customers, suppliers, so if there is going to be a conflict between them, then it becomes a tier 2 conflict. So for example, directors describe themselves as independent of management, company, or major shareholders. They may find themselves faced with a conflict of interest if they are forced into agreeing with the dominant board member. So this is called tier 2 conflict, within the a conflict arising within the stakeholders. Tier 3 conflict emerges when the interests of stakeholders are not appropriately balanced. For example, shareholders appoint board members based on their knowledge and skills, and once a board has been formed, its member have to may face conflict of interest between different stakeholder groups. So this is tier 3 conflict. And tier 4, which is the last conflict, is the conflict which may arise between the existence of the company and between the society. So in case if we are a typical example like a Bharat Petroleum, British Petroleum example, where they were polluting the environment. So this is a tier 4 conflict which may arise between the company and the society. So this presentation was about governance and the type of conflicts that can arise in the proper functioning of the government.